yes, we are now on Visual Studio Code. So I took the time that we were away. I created these folders, right? They're going to give us some structure to our what we're building, right? So it's called the price comparison tool. And before we start, the first thing, good practice is to always create a virtual environment for all the packages that you will need. So so you're going to go Python, Vim, right? Okay, so that's while that is happening in the background, let's jump onto this. All right, so this last time where we left off, I showed you this, right? So now let's dive a little bit deeper into what we'll be doing, right? So remember I said that initially at the end, right, we're going to have these three multiple stores where we can compare their prices, right? And this is how it's going to go. We're going to get all this data from these stores, and we're going to collect the product URL using Selenium. And from that, we're going to store all these URLs in a CSV. We're going to load this CSV into a pandas data frame, and we're going to pass through all the URLs inside the CSV or inside this data frame, right? With beautiful soup. And then we're going to store all of that information into another CSV, maybe. All right. And then from there, we're going to send that to a database, right? And at the end of that, maybe we're going to render that, all of this into like a Django user interface where we'll have a web application that people can use. All right. So this just an overview. And then remember, like I said, we're going to schedule this to be done maybe weekly, right? Or monthly, right? So what are we going to do now, right? So we're just I'm going to show you, we're going to start off with trying to collect the product URL, right? So let me just zoom out to see where we need to be. Okay, cool. So we want to create let's go back to the flow, right? So we have a spreadsheet of URLs. We're going to get that. And then from there, we are going to, this is just a low level of what I wrote over here. Okay, so let us begin. Okay, so the price comparison tool, we're back, and now our virtual environments have been created. Let us activate it. We're going to use source, VMB, scripts, and activate. And you should now see that your virtual environment has been activated. Great. So on the right-hand side is our plan, right? So it says we're going to access a web scraping spreadsheet, and we're going to store the category names and URLs into a dictionary. And then from there, we're going to say for each, we're going to iterate, right? For each category in the dictionary, we're going to load a page, we're going to collect the product URLs on all that page, and then store it into a CSV. As you can see, I'm busy thinking, yeah, can this be done on the fly? Can we just, instead of waiting for everything to be done, then we just store it on the CSV, just thinking out loud. Okay, so only store log information where, how can they be accessed, right? So eventually we're going to create, have this running on like a server, right? Online cloud server. We're going to have that, and we're going to need some logs, right? Because we won't have this UI interface that we normally use to when we're testing the locally. Okay, so let me show you the data sets or data Excel sheets, right? That we're talking about here. And it's called the store category sheets, right? And if you look at it, I just have Woolworths for now. And what I have done, essentially, I've gotten 7 categories from Woolworths, right? Let me just see if I can copy that and show you where, okay, maybe not. All right, let's see if we can get that going on this side. So, all right, once it's loaded, I will show. Okay, so this is the Woolworths website, as you can see. So we are going right now. We're in the ready foods, right? Category. Let's see if we can go out a bit to show you where I collected all of this. So this was a manual process. I want to go to the food because that's what I'm really focused on. I'm not focusing on their other products. And let me just zoom out a bit so we can get the whole screen. So we want to go to the food and not just Mother's Day. Let's go towards that. We want food, right? So once we get to the food, we have the categories, right? So I selected 7 of these. There are 1, 2, 3, there are 8 of them. So I didn't take the flowers and plants, but if you want to, you can. I just took the 7, and then I took the URLs. And if you hover over them, you can see on the bottom left the URLs that I collected, right? So we're now going to scrape through. We're going to essentially what's going to happen. Let me just show you what the script that we're trying to build is going to do. So it's going to land here, right? And it's going to collect all the URLs that it sees for the products, right? Product URLs. And then it's going to go to the next page, right? So it's going to go to page 2. And I'm trying to load it, but it's still loading, okay? So it's going to go on page 2, page 3, page 4, all until it gets to the end, right? Let's see, how can I jump to the end? I can jump to the end somewhere in the URL there, but let's see if I can increase this. So, but anyway, let me not do that. So, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to move on to the end for all of these products, right? Okay, so let me explain what's going to happen, right? So, okay, I get the URL, right? Essentially what's going to happen is we want to end up with this scenario, right? So for all of the categories, right? We want to end up with a dictionary, like within a dictionary. So it's going to start with Woolworths, whatever store, followed, those are the outer keys. And then within the inner keys, for each store, they're all going to have certain categories and we're going to have the URL, right? So we're going to iterate through this. And then we are going to go through each category and then collect the URLs for all the products in the store, which is what essentially I just said, right? So, so how are we going to do that, right? So we have a function. Okay, cool. So let's not jump into that yet. So this is just some flow charts, flow diagrams that I'm using to arrange my thoughts, okay? And I think this is very useful for you to do, okay? When you're sort of like pseudocode. Okay, so let us. The first things first, I am going to create a main file, right? I'm just gonna call it main.py, okay? And then this is where I'm gonna run all my instructions, right? So first things first, I want to have a function that creates dictionaries, right? And to do that, I'm going to start them here. Okay, I'm going to call this, no, I want a folder. I want another file that's going to store all my functions, helpers.py. Okay, so what's going to happen is I want to have something that I'll be able to create a directory, right? Okay, I want to create a directory in here to store all my product data and my product URLs per store. Okay, I'm going to call this function called create directory, all right? And it's going to take in a path and it's going to return nothing, just some type hints. And then I think I'm using docstrings now just to be a bit more professional. So we're going to create a dictionary to store URLs and logging files, right? That's in the future. I'm not spelling URLs correctly, but we'll get to that. It's going to take a parameter, and the parameter is called path. And essentially it's a directory path where or to where the files will be stored, right? So that's how you spell stored, I think. Cool, great. And then, okay, so what's gonna happen is I want to jump in here, right? I'm gonna tell you how it's gonna work. I'm gonna use the OS function or library module. So the logic is I'm gonna check if the folder exists, right? If the folder has been created, right? If it's been created, then don't create it. Else create it. And to do that, we're going to use OS like I just mentioned. We're going to say check if folder has already been created. Because remember, we're going to be creating URLs and a CSV for storing URLs and another CSV for storing the data that we scraped from the URL CV. All right, I'm going to use os.path.exists. It's going to take in our path, and as you can see, we have not imported it, but this is a core Python module, so we can just do that, and it should be added. All right. Okay, so I'm going to do that. Create a variable called it is exists. Should be it exists, but let's leave it like that. All right. If is exists, right? Directory exists. So if directory exists, right? I'm going to say print exists, right? And for now, this will be removed, right? Let me just put a note there and replaced with logging. Okay. Let me just write print exists. I'm using double quotes for my strings. I've heard comments about it's normally in the community you use single quotes. However, I've gotten used to double quotes, so I just make sure I keep it consistent. And yeah, nobody's really been able to tell me why the reason for single quotes is. I think it's just a preference. But hey, this is my preference. All right, so path, right? Yeah, and quick fit, yes. So that what this function does essentially, right? It's going to make a directory, right? It's it's going to make a directory and all, essentially with this path, right? And then we're just going to say print folder created, right? And just like before, will be removed, right? And then we're going to say print. I'm going to use an F string and path, and then created. All right, so that's the first function that we've created, and we're going to use this in the main, right? So let's jump to it. Okay, so now that we've created that function, let us use it. So from, I think it's dot here, import create, what do I call it? Create directory. Hopefully that works. Create direct. So and all right. So what do I need? I want to get the current working path. So I'm going to say get current working path. And to do that, we're going to use just called the CWD, current working directory. And say get CWD, right? And that returns where we our current path. And I just need to import that. And then we can just test it out. Print CWD, and then oh yeah, I installed some packages, right? I'm supposed to say install some of the packages that we'll need, but we'll get to that. So we can now say Python main.py. Hopefully it doesn't fail. All right, I can just do this then from web script. Then let's see. Okay, so I have to create Python file now. Okay, sorted that out. Just has to from the folder file, the name of the file and the function that we want to use, and now it's created a PyCache for us. Okay, so so we can run this and say we'll run Python main.py and get my current working directory, which it does. We're right here, right? So I want to create test folder in this stores file, right? Just want to see some. Let's just see for work. So we're gonna say what do we want to create? We want to create in the data folder in the stores random folder, right? Path test path is going to be equals to, I'm going to say, I'm going to call it not an F string per se. I'm just going to go like this. I'm going to say go into data, go into stores, and then create random, right? And let's see if that works. Okay, I'm going to comment this out. And then from there, I'm going to say, I'm going to call create directory. I'm going to say create directory. And I'm going to say CWD plus test path. And I should put something here, right? And I should say test path and run it. And boom, did we get something random? Yes, we did. So that's working. All right, didn't print anything to the screen. Okay, there it is. Random created. Okay, so this is what we